chapter 7. Yeah, so the difference between obedience and conformity is obedience is more of like in a, let's say in a company, you are following the instructions given by your boss. So sometimes you are so obedience in a way, whatever instruction given by your boss, you will follow bulat bulat. You will follow exactly what is required, and without you having some filtering and thinking whether is it the right decision or not. Yeah, and whereas conformity is more of like an action of someone who adopts the habit or routine and language of the peers who have no special right to direct his behavior. So for this part, basically conformity is like unspoken behavior. So example of conformity that I can think of is, for example, when that's not a very good example, but yeah, whenever we go to a funeral, you don't see people wearing red color, right, clothes. So it's a unspoken sort of like a culture thing. We know when we go funeral, we have to wear black. It's sort of like a form of respect already. So yeah, this is actually what it means by conformity. Anyone can think of any? Maybe you can observe something in, yeah, QQ?
No, I cannot think. I cannot think of any more.
Okay, let me give you another example. Is if you now look back, I don't know, we are still considered here, but if you look back to your olden days time, maybe high school time, the photo, you might be able to observe some of the fashion sense that you don't understand why you practiced last time. Like why you wear that kind of fashion style last time. So that's one thing lah. Maybe that time that somehow the fashion trend, and yeah, and you yourself know right now you won't be, you know, you won't, this is not definitely not your kind of fashion style, but yet you're somehow wearing that kind of or adopting that kind of fashion style. So that's also one of the way of conformity lah. So it's like a trend or a style, and yeah, or maybe it's influenced by your peers. Everyone is wearing like that, so that's why you somehow. So conformity, basically, if you see the word highlight, we are adopting some habits, routine that from people who has no direct rights on that tells us what we should do. It somehow is a natural thing that we follow along. Okay. Girls definitely know this. Yeah, exactly, Yvonne. Correct. Girls know this. We tend to follow trend, makeup, and all this. This is only part of it, lah, of course. We still have other as well. And one of this in the book, it also mentioned one of the experiment actually carried out by Solomon Ash. Yeah, he's actually okay, anyway, yeah, Solomon Ash experiment. So how it conduct the experiment is basically there are a line, as you can see, the line X is there, and everyone is given choice to choose A, B, C. Okay, but before the experiment was carried out, they have already told the person in red color to choose C. Okay, only the person in orange color are not being told any answer beforehand. So they choose an obviously wrong answer, which doesn't match with X, the length, and they want to see how the person in orange clothes respond. And surprisingly, Orange X was actually under the peer pressure, and though he know the answer of C is obviously wrong, and he know the answer is sort of like B, but still under the pressure, peer pressure, he choose C. Or most of the people tend to go for C. Yeah, because of peer pressure. Okay. So maybe if you have this kind of situation, or you can recall certain of situation where you encounter, like in the workplace, you know that there wasn't a right thing to do, but somehow if you see all your colleagues or your friends are doing it, perhaps it will create that kind of uh, thoughts in your mind saying that, hey, maybe I might not be right, or maybe theirs might be right. People usually think majority wins, or majority might be right. So this is something that might also blind us in through conformity. It's an unspoken kind of practice, lah. Yeah. Anyone want to add on anything? Okay. By the way, this Solomon Asch is actually the great American psychologist of conformity, lah. So just so you all know, she conduct this experiment during 1950s that time. Okay, so it's actually proven how this conformity actually blind us in some sort of way. Okay, so here are some of the distinguished feature of conformity. First is conformity is basically implicit. Implicit means the unspoken rules that is enforced by social norm. Okay, so it's unspoken one. Like just now the example I've given. Yeah, so nobody needs to tell you, already you know. It's a practice that most of people follow. Okay, so if you don't follow, you will have the sense of pressure. People are like, why are you doing this, and why are you not following what the rest are doing, something like that. Yeah. And second, it's conformity is actually a choice. It can be made conscious or not. Okay. Yeah, later I'll explain further on this choice part. And third, it's feel voluntary. Okay, nobody force you. It's just that when we don't find ourselves fit in, we will usually change the person who we associate with, or we change ourselves to make ourselves feel comfortable. Can you imagine you stay in a group where you always have to go against everyone's thinking or everyone's perspective? Definitely you won't stay long, right? You want to mix with the group that actually share the same thinking, share the same value. So same, if for conformity, usually if we want to feel the belonging in a certain group, usually we will conform to it. For example, if when we first join YMAC, we might join because of the big picture that Sir paint in initially as a YMAC goal. But when we come in, definitely YMAC has possessed a different kind of set of culture in it. Okay, in a way, maybe we to encourage more people to spend more time with each other, we play board game and stuff. So slowly, if we want to belong to the group, somehow we adopt some of the practice naturally, okay? Because we want to find a sense of belonging in the group. So that's why we adopt and we conform to it. And fourth is contagious. Basically, it's contagious to whoever joins. It's actually influencing each other. Everyone is influencing each other. Okay, and usually the people of minority were likely to conform more lah, because imagine everyone is doing, let's say everyone is clapping hand and you are the only one who is not clapping, so you feel yourself very odd, very weird. So and now you also clap for no reason. You don't know why everyone is clapping, but you are clapping as well. So yeah, this is some of the feature of conformity. And some fun fact by the researcher that stated in this book, according to Ash, the great American psychology, or here, that's where I put. Yeah, so here are some of the conformity, so-called the conformity personality lah. But I will elaborate further on this part, okay? So here it says, or the research says that people are more likely to conform to those who are higher status. That means the model of success than the mere pressure. Okay, that is like when you have two person in front of you compare. You know, let's say, I don't know what is a good example. I don't know. Maybe you have yeah, I don't know, just someone who is higher status lah. Some like someone who already successful, and compared to your friends, definitely people tend to conform to that kind of person more because they want to be as successful as them. They want to mix, you know, bird of the same flock. I don't know if I can use the feather flock together, correct? Because you want to be get that kind of bird. You want to fly together with them. So end up you adopt and you conform to their way of practice or behavior. And second, men are more likely to conform than women. Oh, this one I'm not sure, but it's already stated here inside the book. I do read somewhere else saying that it's the other way around, but I think it's very much depend on the personality lah. I would say maybe if we look at DISC, the personality, I think S tend to conform more because we are sort of like a peacemaker. We don't want to challenge things and stuff, but yeah.
It depends on the culture, the society, also the race, the country.
Yeah.
The country, what kind of practice that the country holds, or the kind of race holds. So it also can create the different form, because some society they promote that conformity is respect. Some society promote personal individuality. So when you grow up in that kind of society, then you learn to be a bit more of an individual. Whereas for some, no, you need to learn to respect. As a sign of respect, you need to conform.
Yeah. Thanks for adding, sir. Correct. I think it's very common when you see at how the students are being teach in the school in Malaysia and compared to the overseas, like the European country. You know, students or kids are more open to ask questions, to when they ask questions, basically they are thinking, you know, out of whatever that is being taught to them. And that's what being highly promoted or nurtured in that country. But in Malaysia, basically, teacher teach you, they don't expect you to ask question. Best if no question. Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure whether it changed right now.
You see this happening, of course, for most of you, you don't get a chance to see. But for me, as a staff in INTI, and especially when I was with Student Affairs last time, I get to meet students from different departments, different courses, and very, very clear, because American degree program tend to follow American culture, and American culture promotes individuality far more and less on conformity. You will see that a student in the American program, they are a little less conforming. Oh, well, they are also conforming. They are conforming to the outspoken culture. Whereas those taking UK program, different. They conform to the quiet, don't ask question kind of culture.
The one UOW.
You will notice that. I noticed that when I go to different department students and then you talk to them, it's usually the American program students. They will have more questions, and they also all don't sit down quietly. One, some sit, some stand. They are more free and easy. Okay, the kind of culture that begin to think and express individuality. Okay, now that's also conforming, but bear in mind you are also conforming, which is why for Malaysian students, when we go to let's say when we go overseas and when we go to American university, you end up conforming into the American university culture. So is that who the Malaysian student, is that who he or she is? Not necessary, but you conform in order not to look odd. So you learn to be more outspoken. Okay, yeah. So same thing here. We all conform in order not to stand out too much, because for most of us, we don't like to stand out, because people will look at us and then we become too stand out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that Sir pointed out, I actually surprised. Like, probably I only think of one side of conformity, but I never thought, maybe you change the other side. It's also a form of conformity. Yep. And the third one is...
Let me just point out in this case.
Yeah.
What is non-conformity? Non-conformity doesn't mean you are outspoken. That's not non-conformity.
Yep.
Okay? It's got nothing to do with whether you're outspoken or whether you're quiet. So don't think that conformity means we are very quiet. Non-conformity means we are very outspoken. No. Non-conformity means I am being who I am. Doesn't matter if I'm different from majority of the people. That's called non-conformity. Meaning if I'm with a lot of people and then most of the people behave like this, but I'm not like that, so I can still be who I am in the midst of majority that is not like me. I can still be comfortable and have the courage and the easiness to be who I am. Now that is called non-conformity. Conformity is where I lose my natural self in order to fit into a majority. I lose my natural self. That's why conformity includes a bit of giving up. You give up something about you, okay, in order to be like the majority. That's conformity. So conformity can be outgoing, can be expressive. It's still conformity. That's why you see Malaysian students, even though in our school days we are taught to be quiet, when we go to US, right? If we are quiet and we are not outspoken, people will look at us one kind, oh, yo, this fella so lembek. And so we have to end up becoming more outspoken because we need to conform to the culture there in order not to be branded in a certain way. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So conformity can be outspoken.
Yeah, I think that's already quite clear for the whole chapter, correct? So yeah, and the third one I'm continuing is according to research, is those who are conform were more likely to believe in the external factors such as luck, chance, or fate. Yeah, because like those who actually believe in themselves and be comfortable enough to be themselves, I think their sense of confidence, self-confidence is kind of higher. So that's why it's sort of like an opposite from whatever that is stated here. So anyway, that's just a fun fact.
Not just self-confidence. It's not about self-confidence alone. It is conviction. The difference, you see, usually people who conform, they never think through clearly and they are not strong in their conviction. So that's why their belief system is not concrete. It's not solid. That's why it's luck, chance, fate. Not well thought through. So the conviction is not strong. It's called conviction. In other words, the person didn't think through clearly to be convinced himself. So a person who is convicted, in other words, he has thought through very clearly. He has a lot of supporting facts and figures and experience. Then when you are convicted, then you are less likely to conform. And to be honest with you, if you think very clearly today, look at today's world, a lot of people, most people, well, if you look at young people, you look at college today, very low on conviction. They don't even understand, they're not even concerned to find out. Conviction basically have to ask the question, why? What does it mean? Why do I have to do it? The conviction requires you to ask question, what, why, and how. The why especially. The why is the key to conviction. And when you don't ask why, then you don't have answers that you are confident with yourself. If you don't have answers that you are confident with yourself, then it's easy. You're not strong in your own belief system, because you never think deeper, you never understand clearly. So you're very weak in your understanding. So if you're very weak in your understanding, you dare to challenge, no, conform, You see what I'm saying? So it's very important for us to realize this. If we one of the root reason about conformity is the lack of conviction. Why lack of conviction? Simple reason. You never spend enough time to ask the deep questions of life, especially the philosophical question of life. And if we don't, then we what can we do? Follow, which is what conformity is. Follow. So, which is why end up become follower. So if you think deep enough, you will be a leader. If you don't think deep enough, you don't have anything to convince yourself, then easily let people convince you, or don't want to, because you are not confident, then follow. Make sense?
If that case, can we some sort of saying that the younger the person is, that means whoever younger tend to conform more likely to conform compared to those who are older, because maybe younger those people still have yet to explore towards the conviction part, or even to ask the question why. Then slowly as we grow older, we tend to ask more, can we say that?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yes. But you see, of course, that's not the only factor,
Yep.
Age is not the only factor. In Malaysia, for instance, okay, okay, offhand I can think of two. Malaysia, for instance, we are taught to just follow Why you ask so many questions? Correct? Even by teacher. So what is the education system teaching us? To conform You don't need to understand. Just conform, follow. Just follow. That's conformity. Now that is harmful. So the whole system is teaching us conformity, not teaching us to think. Right? Now, second thing, do you realize that the whole education system in this case, once the education system practices follow without thinking for yourself, then the whole education system is only promoting conformity. It doesn't matter if you go to PhD, you are still following conformity. Correct? So, which is why you can have people holding a lot of degree and all that. Actually, the likelihood is if they pursue education for the sake of the certificate. Recognize this. How are you going to get the certificate if you are seeking further education for the sake of certificate? Conformity. You just do what is expected of you by the person or by the department that's going to issue you the certificate. So, what happened is this: the people who now hold the higher education certificate may have got it out of conformity, not out of conviction about the thesis they have written down. So, not surprising if your people with higher education, with the PhD and the master's degree, who are teaching now the younger students, yet they get their qualification by conformity. What do you think they are promoting to the young generation? Now think about it very carefully also. People
sound. Sir, I can't hear you.
Bill Gates and Steve Jobs.
Sir, your line is breaking.
How did Steve Jobs become Steve Jobs? By conform. Okay, sorry, my mother called me, so I have to just I'll call back. Now, that's why this is very important. This is very important. Take for instance, if you think about people who have come up with let's say the best example is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. Did Steve Jobs develop Apple because of conformity or because of conviction and passion? It's conviction and passion. He believes what he is doing. If he conformed, there wouldn't be Apple. Right? He wouldn't have started Apple. Now, that's why very important. And yet, Steve Jobs don't have formal qualification. Now, if you look at history, all those people who discover stuff, they are non-conformists. People who discover, who invent, most of the time they are not conformists. If they are conformists, they wouldn't discover new stuff. How can you discover new stuff if you're conforming? You're conforming means you're following back what was known. Whether it's correct or not, they don't care. They are following. So a discoverer, an inventor, must challenge, not conform. So how to challenge? If you are not strong enough in your conviction, you won't have the courage to challenge. But where does the conviction come from? To be strong enough to challenge? Think deep enough. The person must think deep enough. That's why it's very crucial for us. Think deep enough. Stop just following. Ask why. That means whenever we read any book, whenever Edmund Tan says something, ask why. Why Edmund Tan say something? Do I understand? If I understand and believe, okay, I will accept what Edmund Tan say. Don't just accept what Edmund Tan say. Or don't accept whatever any book say. Even if it is textbook. Even if the person hold a PhD degree. Yeah. Right? Ask why. Okay, question. If not, pass back to Jinli.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on. So next, I'll move on to just highlight a few things that I managed to pick up from the book. So here are some of the motivation to why it actually leads us to conform. Okay, definitely. I think just now, as Sir have explained, they actually point out a few. First is the carrot of belonging and stick of exclusion, because we don't want to stand out like as a center of attraction. So people used to fit in just to feel good or to be accepted. Okay, so that we won't be branded as the odd one or the left out one. Yeah, and yeah, that's how actually it leads us to conform. Second one, of course, this is also what we can see as just now the example of mentioned. Uncertainty encourage conformity. So when we go to a new place, okay, so it's new to us or a new environment, okay. When we were there, we tend to somehow conform to the group, to the culture or to the practice, because we are uncertain whether the answer is the behavior is appropriate or not. So we will usually first observe how other people react or present themselves, then we will follow along first. For example, just now as Sir mentioned, when you go to a overseas to study, you're uncertain whether the way we do this thing correct or not, this behavior. So usually we observe around how people react, how people behave, and that's where we adopt and we conform to it. So unless, do y'all have any other motivation that y'all can think of actually triggers us to conform? Or from the example that we shared in your daily life, maybe is there anything that you can think of actually somehow trigger us or motivate us or make us conform naturally? I think most of us tend to conform because of the peer pressure or the sense of belonging that we want to feel that we are part of the team. So that's why we just blend in. Or is there anyone have any other suggestion? Not. If not, maybe I'll just explain some example that is stated inside the book. Oh my god. Bear with me, because I'm not so sure with the finance part. So in this book, it actually gives a lot of example about the finance, how the finance world, especially you can see very clearly how people tend to conform because they want to feel part of it, and because of their own desire have driven them, and yeah, in a way. So yeah, that's where I'm going to share story. And this story is about the Ward Pavel at the beginning. So Ward Pavel, he actually worked in a finance company, okay, and I presume he's one of the officer who actually managed the account. And when he first entered the company, this Pavel, it's a two separate story, by the way. Paulo, yeah, when he first entered the company, he, when you are new to the company, you follow the rules and properly, but to him, he's more of like a lost kitten in the jungle for predator, okay? Because all he can see around him, all the colleagues actually have been sort of like practicing the wrong actions. In a way, he can see some of the colleagues actually smuggling the money from company, and some of them actually do business that is unethical or forming yeah, that's unethical, or even smuggling money in a sense. So only left him alone, who is, you know, holding on to the position, trying to do his job right, following the rules. And that's where one of his colleague, Man, approached him in a way that tried to pull him on board to the team, saying that, so now that he offer him in a sense that, okay, now why not you help me to collect a debt from another company, but the debt, instead of paying to the company itself, it went into our pocket. Okay, so all you have to do is just issue a promising note. Promising note is basically a legal document where people can actually claim money or from after that. So all this Paulo have to do is just issue a false or empty promising note, and then with the money that they put inside the pocket, they can share equally. So, and at first Paulo wasn't quite convinced to this, because he thought it's not a right thing. This is not what he was raised up to. The moral upbringing definitely tell him that it's not the right thing to do. But somehow, why at the end he conformed to it? It's because, as you can see, even though he follows so like the rules and regulation and everything, yet people around him are doing so well as compared to him. Okay, and yeah, so everyone is doing so good, even though they are not doing the right thing. They're chasing, but he himself, he have to spend a lot of time at work, yet he don't get rich, he still get lousy salary and so on. So somehow inside him, he has this internal conflict, and at the end he somehow conformed to the team, and yeah, that's where he throw away all his moral upbringing and somehow follow the whole group to do the wrong thing. Yeah. So at that time, he was literally like lost sight of everything he was and everything he stood for. Okay. So that's how in a corporate world you can actually lose yourself. When everyone you see is actually doing the right thing, it's quite obvious already. It's very obvious, but yet why people, you can see, still find people conforming to the wrong thing, is because of peer pressure. He himself are the odd one that stand alone doing the right thing, yet most of people around him is not doing the right thing. So under certain level of peer pressure, that's how it will lead people to conform and become willful blindness. And for this Brad Rudderman, he's also working in the finance and in an investment firm. If you have heard before, if you have heard before Lehman Brothers, which is one of the successful investment firm back in US last time. Okay, so imagine, wow, you first join this company as one of the any new employee who's just joined one of the most successful firm in the whole US, you know, and like, can you imagine the competition that is inside the company itself? Everyone is competing with each other to hit sales, to try to get more investment in, to close a big deal, and yeah, and also in the company itself, they have some sort of competitive culture. So what the boss do is, every time, in order to motivate the employee to compete among themselves, in order to hit a higher sales, what they will do is basically he will have a scoreboard, personal scoreboard for everyone, and it was actually placed in it's actually placed in the boss room there. So everyone, wherever he go in, he can get to see. Also, you can see it now. Yvonne personal scoreboard, let's say, oh, it's the highest. Then when Jin Lee go in, oh my God, the scoreboard is the lousiest. So from there, it actually creates some sort of competition. And of course, when I see that, I don't want to left out. So end up this rudiment, in order to live up to the whole team, what is the expectation and to stay in this competition, he even go to the extent of he even go to the extent of misrepresented his result, sort of like cheat, and he give that means he give the false result to the boss, and from there he tried to cover up whatever that he have tell the boss by gambling, by going for lottery tickets and so on, just to secure his place in the firm. Okay, that time this Ruderman, he was actually one of the successful finance that actually managed a lot of big bosses investment bank lah. So he was one of the successful salesperson, I would say. But of course, as times go back, you can't, certain times you can't live up to what is expected of you, right? So that's how he go sideways to actually still keep his place secure lah. But that's not sort of like the right place. So as you can see, in order to live or stay in certain of society or the group norm, somehow we tend to lose ourselves in order to be part of it. And without us realizing, we are actually going the wrong road. So that's how dangerous if we were not aware the choices that we made, or we were not aware why we don't reflect on why we choose or we make certain decision. If we just blindly follow what the rest of the people are doing or what the culture has made us to conform, if we don't reflect on that, it can actually lead to a very dangerous action. Yeah. This is a simplified story. Okay. So yeah. Any add-on? Okay. I'm sure if you want to get a more detailed story, you can read through lah, huh? They have a lot of detail, like, you know, conversation, but yeah, but I hope you all get the whole gist of it. Okay. So this is just an example to highlight what is being shared earlier on the how conformity actually leads to willful blindness. And okay, so I'm gonna highlight a few findings from conformity experiment in the book itself after the example and everything. So first is in this ash line experiment. So okay, basically in the experiment, what he say is carrot of belonging and the stick of exclusion is actually very powerful to blind us to the consequence of our action. Yes. So sometimes we don't realize how badly we want to be part of the team to the point where we are willing to sacrifice whatever that we believe lah. Yeah, we hold. So just now what Sir mentioned, the example, if we are not strong of the conviction that we hold, yeah, that's how we actually lose ourselves. Because whatever people say, if we don't have a own self of sets of value that we believe and we hold tightly onto, then what are the reference point are we basing on? Basically, we will just base on whatever other people or majority of the people practice. Yeah, just to be together or feel the belonging. Yeah. Okay, so definitely we can't run away from Maslow hierarchy. So for Maslow hierarchy, as you can see, belongingness is actually the third place lah. So if we don't have the sense of security that we ourselves had for ourselves, then definitely we will, tend to look for, or when the foundation is not strong, definitely we tend to conform to that in order to get a higher sense of security or sense of need. Okay. Okay, bye Yvonne. I think he leave already. Okay. And this part, I think QQ also mentioned a lot, so I won't hold on too long. So this is what, if when we don't feel belonging, this is what we tend to feel. Okay. They call it ostracism. Basically, ostrich are the practice of ostrich. But yeah, if we don't feel belonging, when we tend to feel lack of purpose, we tend to feel less control over our life, or less good moral being, lack of self-worth, hopeless and demotivated, as well as no desire to search for new meaning. So you can see here just the sense of belonging. Sometimes we feel actually maybe we thought it's not so impactful or not so much how it will influence our life, but actually if you understand how the side effect, then you can actually relate back how in our daily life, how much or how often do we conform when we don't feel or we are seeking for a sense of belonging. Yeah, sometimes it's sort of like a subconscious thing. We don't realize what we are actually conforming on. Sometimes it's out of subconscious. Yeah, sometimes it's of course consciously we making the decision, but it's all driven because of this feeling that we have. Okay. Okay. Next, second finding about conformity experiment. It's basically, okay, that's interesting part. Let me just find. Okay, initially I want to find photo to share what for this slide, but because I don't think you all understand the photo, because I also don't understand about the brain part. So basically, there are different parts in our brain actually responsible for different things. And there is this part responsible for the perception. It's proven to be able to alter because of social influence, like basically what we have mentioned, the culture and everything. So what we see depends on what others see. This is what you say lah. So under this experiment, under this result, there is a experiment did by these Gregory birds. Yeah, basically what they do for under this experiment is they ask the volunteers to actually compare a 3-dimension object. Just now the experiment was to compare the line, right? 2D line. This one is to compare 3-dimension object. So it's slightly more complicated lah. So there are 2 objects that are placed in front of them. They ask them to compare and see whether they are the same. Okay. So of course there are 3 types of way how they do the experiment. There are two types of way how they do the experiment. Is first, of course, they have to decide by themselves whether which object is the same, and after they decide after knowing what their fellow participant decide. So everyone can know each other what they are deciding, what they are choosing, the whether it's the same or not lah. Their answer, everyone know. And the second version, how they do the experiment, is basically they make their vote after knowing what the computer have decided. But what the scientists aim to find out is not whether the volunteer conform, because they know it's very likely most of them will conform. but they want to know when they make their decision that time, inside their brain, what is actually moving, or what is actually involving in the brain, what's happening inside. So, and it shows that conformity can also be a result of conscious decision making. Okay, so under this part, when they are making their decision, it can also be choose based on, okay, when they see their friends are choosing, most of them are choosing that both object is the same. So after evaluating, they make the conscious decision, say, okay, it's the same. But there is also another result that prove conformity can also be an act of perception where it's influenced by social influence. Okay, and how is it work? It's when the participant make their choice that time, even though they themselves choose, make the answer or give the answer, but some of them can give the answer even even based on what other people answer. They themselves don't know one. Somehow they are influenced by the perception without they themselves knowing. Okay, so in a way, why the experiments ask the volunteer to vote in front of everyone, so everyone know each other answer, is because they want to see when they know how they will make the decision. So in this experiment, it actually show that when everyone know each other answer, it actually makes everybody to think less. Okay, when they knew everyone, what is everyone thinking, so eventually they will just make the decision out of conscious. They will just make the decision. I hope y'all understand or y'all follow through with me on that part. Yeah, perhaps sir, you want to add on this or make it clearer? Paging for Edmonton.
Sometimes you can see this happening in class. Let's say in class, quite easy one. Sometimes you have one student, or look at a lecturer may have put a question on the board, and then the lecturer asks the students about answer, yes or no. Let's say, you can see that some students, they feel that when they look at the question, they feel that they see the answer to be, let's say, no. But if majority of the students say yes, I put up the hand and say yes, what the student couldn't see, the student see no first, but what the student couldn't see, because now majority of the student put up the hand as a yes, they also begin to see yes. This is what it means. It alters their perception, because they suddenly realize, hey, the lack of confidence with the yes, the more confident with the no, but now is influenced by the majority. So now I wasn't sure of the yes, but now I see the yes. I don't know whether you sometimes go through this similar feeling as well. What you couldn't see, what you are not convinced of at the beginning, but because majority put up the hand, you feel convinced already. But there's nobody told you anything. Nobody has explained to you to convince you. But just by the people, majority of the people putting up the hand,
Suddenly
you are convinced. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You see, this is what it means, social influence. Social influence affected your perception. Your perception of not convinced at the beginning, just because majority put up the hand, you're not convinced, suddenly become convinced, influenced to become convinced. Without any convincing happening. There's no explanation to convince you one. Only peer pressure to convince you. This is what it means. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's way simpler. Yeah. Usually you will realize after you conform already, the answer that you initially think is correct one. I don't know, that happened to me many times. But yeah. So I guess that also builds out, if you manage to catch that, that also somehow build out your confidence a bit, saying that maybe you should be more confident in what you know rather than just follow what other people think. Yeah, this additional. Oh my god, I have all this, but oh my god, I don't remember I put this in. How about this? But anyway, I'm gonna skip this part. This is basically what I explained. But so explanation is much simpler. And number three finding. Number three finding is basically okay. From about conformity, basically sense of belonging tends to blind us to danger and encourage greater risk-taking. So togetherness makes everyone less vigilant and more vulnerable to bad and dangerous decisions. So I think this one is quite straightforward in the sense that sometimes you will observe among kids when they are together in the same gang. Usually kids will they will challenge each other, or they will say, okay, if you, let's say, if you don't comply to this rule, let's say if you want to join our team, first you have to steal first. If you don't steal, that means you are not part of our team. Only brave kids steal, something like that. They have this law in their group. And if you're one of kids that if you want to join this gang, definitely you have to comply whatever rules that's set by them. So even though you know stealing is not right, yet because this is what is set in the rules and you want to be part of team, so somehow you do something that's out of whatever you will do. Yeah. And yeah, and somehow when we are together, it's like everyone, how to say, borrow guts from each other to make certain decision in that sense. So yeah, that's what I'm explaining. And I think this part I have not much elaboration. Perhaps any of you want to share any experience you have under this part that you can see together in a group. You tend to have more, how to say, open to make certain decisions or things that you dare not do initially. No? Yes? Any example? No, then I'll move on. Okay, if no, then I'll move on. Okay, I think, Okay, I'm towards the last two slides, but this last two slides is actually not from the book itself. It's what I'm just add on lah. But yeah, maybe we can open for discussion for this part. So there are different types of conformity after I've do some research about it. And of course, there are different way of conformity if we are looking at that. There are three types. First is compliance, second identification, and internalization is the third one. So what's compliant? Compliant is basically a person who conform to the group behaviorally without being persuaded that the group is correct. So usually it's influenced by power. So everyone, it's sort of like a whole society, not society, a group thing. Then the one who's the most power, they are implementing or enforcing certain thing. So we know that it's not right, but you are just conform to it just to survive or to be part of the team. And identification is basically another form of conformity where we want to conform to it because we want the relationship with the influencer. We want to be part of the team. And third, it's we literally believing in whatever that is painted to us. So we can see there are different reasons of why everybody can be influenced to conform. Can be because of power, attractiveness, or creativity. So I find it, initially I want to use it as the stages of conformity, but in a way it helps us to see to what point if we are somehow, if we want to identify if we are conforming or not. Maybe there are different types of conforming. It's not just whatever example that we have shared earlier on. So there are different ways that we don't realize we are actually conforming. Yeah. And this one is just to summarize what is stated there. So for compliance, basically we will see change in public behavior. That means in front of everyone, we will react differently, different for ourselves. But inside our private belief for compliance, we still hold on to our belief. So it's a short-term change. But identification and internalization basically is already both public in front of everyone. We have already changed the behavior, and our private belief, we have also changed on that. But for identification, it's more of like short-term. Whenever we are with someone, then we will practice. Like for example, if you are with a group of vegetarian, you believe that being vegetarian is good. So, but whenever you're not together with the group, you will go back to your eating meat or whatsoever. Yeah. Then internalization basically is long term. You already adopt the belief. You already somehow be part of, even though without their influence, you already be part of it. So that's just additional information. At the end, yeah, that's the end of my slide. Basically, when explaining throughout the whole slide, I feel like I've been highlighting a lot on the bad side about conforming. But I was just wondering, is that also a good side about conforming? Yeah, that's a question. Anyway, I also don't have an answer. So maybe open for anyone for any question, or anyone wants to answer my question. Yeah. And so is conformity good or bad?
Jinli, you already have the answer in your previous slide.
Really? Oh my God. Which one? This one?
Go back. This one also can. The one before this also can.
Oh really? Without I noticing? Can you point out to me?
Internalization is healthy conformity.
Okay. Because of credibility.
No, internalization means you incite belief. Internalization.
But what is the wrong belief? Why? What if it's the wrong belief? Can it be?
What if it is a wrong belief? But at least it's still a belief. That means it is based on a. You can't help it, Wrong belief is because belief. It's not external, it's internal. That's why it's called internalization. So your belief need to be corrected. Not you. Conformity is no. Conformity is surface only. You conform. You what circumstances change, you change. Conformity. New environment, new conformity. Wrong. That's why surface conformity, you are changing one. You are not stable one. One moment you are like this. With this group of people, you're like this. With that group of people, you're like that. There's no you. There's no personal identity. Internalization, you begin to have an identity. Right? But yes, you ask the correct question. What if it's a wrong belief? Then your identity is based on a wrong belief. It's a fact. You still have an identity based on an inner conviction. That's why it's still better. That form of conformity is still better because it is based on inside out. Right? Yeah. So there's another criteria required. You see, that's why, think about it. If you want to conform, don't you think it's important to believe? Right. Because now you're internalizing it. So that you begin the habit of inside out. You are consistent inside out. Your shallow compliance and identification is not. It's outside only. It's inconsistent with inside. So you see what I'm saying? You are a double person. You are not a single person. You are a double person.
But I have a question. Because we are talking, because humans are highly adaptably, sort of like it's very adaptive to different circumstances. How should we balance between being adaptive and conform? Not to be like conform.
Yes, we adapt. Look, adaptation is how we adjust ourselves. You see, that's why that is important to focus on your how to say. That's why you need to first be very clear about the need to know the truth. This is one fundamental value system you need to have in yourself. Your need to know the truth, because there's only one truth. So once you internalize that, then you are all constantly seeking the truth and internalizing the truth and adapting to fit the environment.
Without losing the truth.
Yeah, without losing your internalization. Your identity didn't change, but your application changed. You adapt your application. You didn't adapt your identity. You see a difference or not?
Yeah.
So, but once a person doesn't have that inner conviction to seek the truth, then you are adaptable inside. When you're adaptable inside, sorry lah, there's no fixed identity. You're no identity. There's no anchor. Then who are you? You are anything and everything. Can any one person be anything and everything? No. You lost yourself. There's no personal identity anymore. Please make sure that we are not adaptable inside. We are adaptable outside. our conviction should not be adaptable. Our conviction being adaptable to me simply means you have no conviction. That means you have no personal identity. People say this, you believe. People say that, you believe. You don't even have any firm beliefs. Belief is about the inside. You remember the 5 level of a person? I talked about the 5 level of a person. Outermost is the image. Second most is your communication. Third is the skill. Fourth is your mindset. Fifth is your belief and your character. That develops your character. Make sure your attitude and your belief, you keep becoming more and more firm. That's your identity. And that's why in life we must constantly seek the insight and to find that firm conviction of your inside. Not focus too much on the outside. No point focusing too much on your outside when your inside is not solid and firm. Right? If that's why it's conformity with internalization form of conformity is good, because when you find the truth, you should conform to the truth. And you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you find the truth, you should conform to the truth.
It's like a set of value system that we hold.
The truth. That's why it's the truth.
Yeah.
Not just value system. It's the correct value system. Remember the continuum of the knowledge continuum?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you fix your eyes on the truth, never let go of your truth. And so what do? Then you seek to conform to the truth.
Yeah.
But the condition is in the very heart, your most important thing that you don't change. Seek the truth. And then you need to conform by internalizing the truth. So that eventually you're living out the truth inside out. It's a good form of it's a good conformity. But however, if let's say you did not find the truth, then you are conforming to something that is not the truth. To me, it's still better. Because you are developing the habit of singleness. There's only one you. Single you. That is driven out of an internal you. So when people know you, they know you for who you are. That's you. Because it's internalized.
Now I start thinking about like what people usually think, or what I usually portray myself. I think it's worth for everyone to actually do some self-reflection on this part. How you portray yourself, and is that who you are, or what? Is it correct with the right belief system?
That's why the more you think through something, the deeper you think through something, right? Then the more confident you have to express who you are. Then it's inside out. It's a good practice to hold. Allowing yourself to be inside out, not just outside. Why? Because you're adapting to outside pressure. Inside out means you are living out who you are. Outside is you are just living out what is expected of you. Two different things. Or what you think is expected of you, rather.
Yep. Now I get it.
Yeah. But of course, one more, make sure you internalize truth, not just internalize anything. So which is why whenever we learn something, we must keep thinking and thinking and thinking. Make sure it's more and more accurate. So that make sure that something is more aligned to truth. Because why? When something is more aligned to truth, right? Change of circumstances do not change the principle. A true principle does not change due to circumstance. A true principle applies in all circumstances. Correct? I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah.
A law is not subjected to location. A truth is not subjected to location. A truth is a truth regardless of whatever circumstances, regardless of wherever and wherever it is or whoever is involved. A truth is the truth. That's why truth do not change regardless of change in circumstance. So what we need to do is whenever we want to think about what we want to internalize, make sure we internalize as close as possible to truth. Then our internalization, our inner being, our identity become more and more firm, more and more fixed. Because it doesn't change with circumstance. And we need to conform. What's the point of knowing truth and you are not willing to conform to truth? That's why conformity is healthy, provided you internalize truth. So conformity is a good, it can be a good thing. Conformity is always neutral. But the correct application of conformity, the best application of conformity is conformity to truth.
I would say this won't happen overnight. It takes experience and reflection to actually.
Well, the conformity doesn't have. It's not the conformity that is tough. It is the discovering of truth that is tough. And that's why. But we must make it a point in our mind to be very clear. That means you set a certain guideline, a certain principle, a certain rule that we must hold on to. We must hold on to the rule inside our own heart and mind. We must conform to truth. That's all. That means there are certain rules that you must not break, and make sure that rule is complete and good. It's a good, complete rule. Like in this case, conformity is, you must understand conform to what? What's the point of conforming to peer pressure? What's the point of conforming to majority preference? What's the point of conforming to hearsay? What's the point of conforming to world values? No. The complete thing is conform to truth. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe I should put it, conform to internalized truth. Truth that you have already make it a part of your belief system. Okay? Ken? All of you?
Yeah. So far I get the picture. I'm not sure whether the rest still follow with us or not. Oh, y'all got any questions?
Yes, we follow.
Good. Okay.
Yes, so far.
Very good.
Okay. Still digesting. I understand. All right. Yeah, I think those of us who have been in YMAT hearings can get him quite easy when he share about this. Because I think we can see it through your life example. Whenever you share your experience, also we can see through that part. So
I'm only also trying. I'm only trying. That's why one of the things I realized that somehow God has given me the chance to go through is from very young. From very young. Somehow I live by conviction. That's why when I was 20 over years old, when I was university, I find it so difficult not to live out what I believe. Not to, in other words, I must believe to do something. I from young or like that, I find it very difficult to do anything I don't believe. Okay. So is this conforming to internalization? And then one of the other thing is, from very young age, I always ask, what is meaning of life? So I wanted to find the true meaning of life. So again, I need to find truth. So I've been searching. So the two combined created what I am able to share now. It is because of somehow this burden I have for all these years. Yeah. And so it became an experience. Enough for me to explain it lah, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
I think in normal times, sometimes we would tend to numb ourselves to our own feeling. Sometimes we don't feel like doing that, but because of peer pressure, we just follow through. I think it's good for us to take a pause and just to think through and listen to our feeling, why we are not so comfortable or why we don't really want to. Yeah, don't just act out of we just want to follow through lah. But also take a pause to listen to your own self. Probably it will lead to a good reflection. Like what you say, you have a certain belief and you can't really do something without your belief. So I think different people have different way of addressing that. Maybe some are more feeling type. For me, I think it's more feeling type, not so much of belief, because my belief is not very strong. But yeah, inside, yeah.
To honestly tell you lah, to honestly tell you, it is extremely difficult. I'll tell you honestly first. It is extremely difficult not to conform to the culture around you. Okay. Now, if you look at me per se, not only did I have those convictions when I was young, I'm also a high D. I'm not a people person. So I don't need people that much. Not that I don't need people. I don't need people that much. And I'm a high D also. I don't feel that much. So I have the advantage. Right? Because of my personality type, also the built-in conviction that I somehow had, right? So even then, it is extremely tough. Now, for you all who don't have the personality type, right, and also may not have the conviction that I had, it's even much tougher for you. Now, which is why I created YMAC community. Now, this is become a good example for me to explain why I call it YMAC community. Why I don't call it YMAC club? Why I don't call it YMAC club lah? It's not. It's a community. The idea is I'm trying to use positive conformity here. Positive peer pressure. I'm still using conformity. I'm trying to create a situation where you encounter the peer pressure to conform and to learn truth. Can you see what I'm saying? So that's why conformity is not wrong. So I'm also trying to use conformity to produce positive result in those people who join YMAT. Which is also why I always very worried for people who stop joining YMAT. In this case, YMAT study group, especially the study group. Why? The more you stop joining YMAT, that means you are listening to the culture out there than the culture here. That means your pressure from the culture that you work in is more frequent, it's more often than in YMAT. Now, then my question is this: how strong are these people to be able to withstand the peer pressure to conform to those value systems? You see what I'm saying? That's why communityhood. So if you really believe in the value system of YMAT, you need to stay connected to YMAT so that you are reminded. When you are reminded, you have a little bit more resistance to conform to the external culture out there.
I would say it's still not easy.
It easier lah, because there is this reminder.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, the reminder makes it easier that you are not alone. Hey, I was alone. That's why I did tell you it's super tough. For you all, can you imagine how much harder? Do you think you will continue to believe the YMAT philosophy, which is so tough? YMAT philosophy in itself is so tough. If I don't nag you, or if there's no group that keep so-called poking you week after week, week after week after week,